honestly, I must say this is the first time I felt the need for learning Danish after moving to Copenhagen. It's been more than a year. I never had to use Danish before. Anyways, I'm here to talk about smart containers. Uh, there is a lot of hype going on about Internet of Things. A recent study also said that currently we have 10 billion devices that is connected to the internet, which means every individual has like 1.5 devices connected to the internet. And this stat is going to expand significantly. So in the next 3-4 years, the number will change to 50 billion devices by 2020. So a lot of personal and professional things will be connected to the internet, so it can talk to each other and do a lot of stuff. When it comes to the technology, Maersk Line as a company is definitely leading the industry in the shipping with regards to the connected devices and the Internet of Things as a concept. Just a quick introduction about myself. My name is Musaddiq Alatur. I'm working in Maersk Line operations as a technical manager. And the project that we are talking is remote container management. It's about reefer containers that we have in the fleet, which requires a lot of maintenance. And at the same time, we also need to do a lot of governance of these boxes. We need to make sure that everything related to a reefer container is moving as expected because it carries a sensitive commodity. It could lead to as simple detail as plugging in a container throughout the transportation of the box. It leads to also the maintenance of the boxes. In case of any malfunction happens, we need to monitor it. It had a lot of challenges in the past because we have drafted all the procedures beautifully, shared with all the people across the globe, saying that when it comes to a box moving to your location, this is the procedure you need to follow. You need to make sure you plug in the container. You need to make sure if at all there is a malfunction in the box, you need to repair the box. But the problem is not all the locations were doing the job the way that they were supposed to. And all this while anything goes wrong, we're only able to identify at the end of the transport journey when we open the cargo, when we open the container and identify the cargo is not in the right state. And when we do all the root cause analysis backdated. So that's why we came up with the project saying we have the containers. Now we need to know exactly what's happening with the containers. That's why we came up with this device with an external company, which has.
I'm sorry, the sound is not good for the recording. Can we just switch the microphone?
Yep.
Sorry about that. It should be easier to put on. That's great. Thanks, Lan.
Yeah. Perfect. Basically, the device that we installed on all the reefer container, it has 3 simple components. One is GPS, because we wanted to track the exact location of the boxes, how it's moving. It has GSM, 3GSM you can look into it, because it needs to send the communication across the globe, wherever the box is moving in. We also have a GSM antenna, because the containers that's kept in locations like terminals, even on the vessel where you have a lot of metals aside, is not able to get a proper connection in order to send the communication. That's why we also have a GSM antenna in place, so it boosts the signal. It provides the necessary signal for the devices to send the communication. When it comes to the communication, it's also limited only to land, because the GSM network is only available on the land side of the geography, but when we move boxes on water as well. And that's where the challenge came in when we started working on the project. So we also installed Ericsson Dome on all the vessels that we have in place, which creates a GSM network on vessel when the container is on water and sailing towards its next destination. On a high level, I think after installing all the devices and stuff like that, that's where we realized the potential of the whole IoT as a concept. And I would quickly like to share some of the benefits that we have achieved out of this project in the last couple of years after implementation. We were able to monitor all the off power. We are now able to see exactly where the container is off, which location is not plugging in the container on time. So with the help of the information that we have, we are able to improve our operational performance significantly. It's also helping us for the alarm resolution. So in case of any malfunction that used to happen in the past, We had no idea how long time it used to take. Now we can see from the data that this location is taking this long time. At the same time, we are also able to preventively reach out to locations when it's reaching its deadline. If they're not able to fix the container within 3 hours or 5 hours, we have a support center team in GSE who picks up the phone and then calls the vendor and say that you're not fixing the container on time. Set point discrepancy. This is a very simple process failure that we also identified is the box that we made it's standard for all different kinds of commodity. It has different temperature requirements, and the way we control is by updating a settings in it. And we identify in many cases, if a box requires 10 degree of temperature inside it, people put it as -10. Or in some case, if it's a -10, they update it as +10. So a simple manual error could actually lead to a big impact at the end of the transportation. And now we are able to track exactly what is the temperature that is set in and what is the temperature requirement that we have on the box. So if in case of any deviation, we correct it immediately rather than waiting for a next inspection on the box that basically needs to be taken place. Vendor performance management is also an important aspect because this comes to the data now. We have a lot of contract in place and an SLAs that we have agreed with all the vendors. And now the question here was, how do we monitor the performance of it, whether the vendor is able to deliver to the performance that they have agreed in the SLAs or not. With this project, we have all the data coming into the system, so we can clearly see that this is how the vendor has able to deliver on the SLAs that we have agreed with them. Improved pre-trip inspection. Pre-trip inspection is nothing but doing an inspection on a reefer box before assigning it to the next booking, to a next customer. And this is one of the processes that we have in place just to make sure that the box does not have any malfunction in it. And in order to identify which boxes has a malfunction, we used to run a machinery diagnosis in all the containers. With the help of the data and partnership with IPU, we have come up with an algorithm that throughout the booking journey, we monitor the container. And then we see how exactly the container is behaving it. Is there any problem with the container? If yes, then we assign that container for a pre-trip, basically the machinery diagnosis. If it does not have any problem, then we basically don't need a pre-trip inspection at the end of the booking. So it can be assigned to the next customer without doing any pre-trip inspection, just doing a physical inspection to see whether the box has any damage or not. I have a quick slide in it. It shows what is it that we do with the algorithm is throughout the booking journey, containers will send all the information related to the temperature, related to its ambient temperature, in case of any malfunction that has happened to the box, whether the box is not able to perform the way it's supposed to be, and so on. This also linked to our booking system, which tells us this is the commodity, so we also know how does container behave for different commodity and stuff like that. And this gave us a lot of insights. And because of the ways that we have in the pre-trip inspection, out of 100 boxes that goes to a booking, not every one of them has a malfunction. Only 10 or 15 boxes has a malfunction. But we used to do pre-trip inspection on every single box, just because we did not know or we did not have the visibility as to which box require a pre-trip inspection. And also, most importantly, we are able to reduce some of the CO2 emissions, because when you do a pre-trip inspection, we need to keep the machinery on in the genset and stuff like that, and that leads to a lot of CO2 emission as well. Before I conclude, I also have some learnings that I wanted to share with you guys. One is about the learnings that we have in place. It requires a massive change management in place, because when it comes to technology and IoT, a lot of products that is available in the market, more or less everyone can make a product that can communicate to the internet and send the data back to us. The challenge is integrating these devices into the business is the biggest challenge what we have. And most importantly, what we have as a challenge is maintaining these devices. Right? It works perfectly, it's doing the job it's supposed to do it, but at the same time, sometimes these devices are breaking down. So these devices needs to be maintained, and the guys who's there locally on the field not necessarily have an idea how to make a maintenance job related to these devices. That's where the technology needs to improve further. We hope that going forward, when it comes to the IoT, it should not be an external add-on on an external product that we attach to the devices that we have in place. It should be integrated into every single solution that is available in the market. So it works smoothly. It does not require any external maintenance. The guy who's supposed to do a maintenance or a container on a car or whatever the technology it is or whatever the device it is, it should work smoothly without any interference of an external need. Training is also one of the main requirement that we felt it, and at the same time, because the technology is moving really fast, we are changing the processes as well. So the materials that we have, it's get outdated, and not necessarily it reaches to the global audience the way we expected or we intended to reach it to. And that's where we see the challenge as well, and we expect this. People should also come up with the trainings, maybe videos of all the devices, how to do it. So you just scan it and then you know exactly what to do with the device. Other challenge we also identify is the IoT. It's moving rapidly. The technology is changing on a very fast pace, but when it comes to shipping as an industry, it's not as fast as the IoT as a product. One example I can give it is we have 3G and 2G installed on our devices, but we do see that sometimes in the near future, maybe 3G will become obsolete or 2G will become obsolete. But when it comes to a container, it remains in life for a longer period. Some boxes remains 10 years, some remains 15 years, or some remains even 20 years as well. So we need a solution that actually can last for a longer period and meets the requirements that we have in place. Also, data analytics. Pre-trip inspection was just one example that we discussed a little earlier. But we also have found with the data that is coming out of the system, it tells us exactly how the reefers is behaving it. It tells us exactly how does each commodity makes the container behave it, and how is the box moving, where we have lead times in the processes and so on. And we would definitely need a lot of people, not just the existing organization, because not necessarily we have worked on the data or we have the experience to work on the data. So we need analytical capabilities in the organization for when it comes to IoT deployment, the information that comes back to the system. We also need all these people in place who can understand the data and then create a value out of the data. That seems to be a bit of a challenge across the globe, because coming up with a product, installing a product is definitely an easy thing. And we have also done it. We had some business case clearly defined saying that this is what we expect out of the smart containers. We need to improve our operational processes. We need to improve the cargo care of the commodity that's transported. But the challenge was initially that we didn't know what else to do about it. And now that we are coming up with the advanced analytics capability within the organization, we are able to create a lot of additional business capabilities. We are able to refine some of the operational processes, which is not related just to the reefer, but just to updating system, getting the right information from terminals and stuff like that. Because we are no longer depending on an external party to update the system and then provide an information back to us, but we can instead see the information coming directly from the container itself. So that basically on a high level what it is that we are doing with the smart containers. If there is any question. Yeah.
It sounds very smart with the smart container.